stand for me okay? You're watching the stream. On this episode, we're looking at the urgent efforts to preserve Native American culture and traditions right the way across the United States because COVID-19 has killed elders who were responsible for maintaining those cultures and traditions. Earlier, we spoke to Simon Moyer Smith, who told us more about this challenge.
COVID has had a detrimental impact on our communities, right? And we have to remember that Indigenous people are the smallest racial minority in our ancestral land in the United States. So we're doing our best to protect our elders. These are the language speakers. These are the ceremony keepers. As Indigenous people, we don't have the luxury of getting on a plane and flying back to the old country like Italy or Germany and finding our languages and our ceremonies or our customs. That's happening here. This is all we have. This is our Italy. This is our Germany. So we're doing everything we can to protect our people and especially our elders who are the lifeblood of our communities.
Joining the stream to talk about the challenge of COVID-19 as a pandemic and Native American culture and tradition. We have Abigail, we have Jason, we have Stephanie. Welcome all to the stream. Abigail, introduce yourself. Tell our international audience who you are and what you do.
Thanks for having me. I'm Abigail Echohawk. I'm an enrolled citizen of the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma, and I'm the director of the Urban Indian Health Institute, a tribal epidemiology center that is working to ensure that Native people are represented in the data and ensuring that we're getting the resources we need in COVID-19.
Good to have you, Stephanie. Tell everybody who you are and what you do. Welcome to the stream.
Will Allen, thank you for having me. Goué, Bonjour, hello everyone. My name is Stephanie Hebert. I am First Nations Mi'kmaq. I'm one of the co-founders of what's called the Social Distance Powwow, which is an online platform that looks to enhance, protect, and share Native culture and traditions over the internet while social distancing and our in-person celebrations are not able to occur or take place safely.
Thanks for joining us, Stephanie. And finally, Jason, welcome to the stream. Tell everybody who you are.
Mado, thank you so much for having me. Jason Salzman, Cheho Chifkados, Hinch J, and Stongo, everyone. I'm the press secretary for the Muskogee Nation, the America's fourth largest tribe, a legacy of survivalists that are functioning and thriving in Oklahoma today. And so proud to be on this panel with two individuals whose work I very much respect. So I'm excited to get started.
Excellent. I am too. YouTube, I know you're watching live. If you've got comments, experiences, stories to share, jump into the comment section, be part of this discussion. Abigail, of course, we all remember last February, last March, when COVID-19 was spreading through the US and impacting the Native American communities more than any other communities, or more than basically white communities. That was a big challenge. Where are we now? How are Native American communities doing as far as you can tell?
Well, I want to start with a story. Part of my role is serving on the executive leadership team of the Seattle Indian Health Board, which is a federally qualified community health center and Indian health provider in Seattle. When the pandemic hit us in February, it was the first epicenter. The first cases were in Seattle, Washington. We were running low at PPE at our clinic. And in fact, we had doctors who were sewing fabric masks because we were running out of masks. We asked our state, we asked our federal partners, we asked our counties to send us PPE. But what we received instead was a box of body bags. That box of body bags exemplifies how Native communities have been treated during this pandemic, particularly with the previous administration. We did not get the resources we need. We've been getting things like body bags for centuries. So what we have seen is a disproportionate impact in a recent studies that I co-authored. We found that Native people were 3.5 times more likely to be infected with COVID-19 as compared to non-Hispanic whites, and 1.8 times more likely to die. And we know that that is a gross underreporting. And that's because states across the nation are not collecting the information and the data correctly. So we know while those rates are just so high, it like blows your mind, we also have to acknowledge it's actually higher. So our communities have been incredibly impacted, but it is their strength and their resiliency that will ensure that we not only survive this pandemic, but we thrive. But it's going to take a concerted effort by our tribal communities and support from our federal partners and the fulfilling of our treaty rights. Just doing what is right and following the law and fulfilling our treaty rights is what we need to see happening.
Jason, this is more than just an underserved community or underserved communities. The impact of when you lose your elders is perhaps every single elder would be a library or a book or a data file. It is so much more than the painful loss of the elders in society. Can you unpack that more for us, please?
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a gathering of knowledge, information, traditional culture, our ways, our life ways, everything that makes us Muskogee or differentiates us, whatever tribe that you come from. Those things are held in those elders. We have them at our ceremonial grounds. That knowledge is kept there. If it's in a book, a publisher can switch up what's in a textbook. If it's on a television program, no offense, but if it's on a television program, there's creative control, there's editing, things like that. With these people, you're talking about generations of people that have been concerned about how, if they share anything culturally with the outside world, how it can be twisted and misconstrued and maybe not accurately portrayed. So that's why these things are held at our grounds within these people. And it's meant for oral tradition, oral histories, storytelling, learning songs, going and taking part in the stomp dance. As you see, this is a really more of a social type of stomp dance, but this is what goes on at our remaining ceremonial grounds that are still there. Those ceremonial fires were carried from the Trail of Tears for this reason, because we are survivors. And as was said just a moment ago, I think that the things that make us susceptible to this virus are also the things that inherently inside of us that make us to where we are going to survive. We are going to endure because we come from that legacy of survival, that legacy of endurance. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. There's something more for us if we just keep going. And I think that our existence in Oklahoma today is proof of that. And so we look at it as a double loss when an elder with traditional knowledge leaves. They know the Muskogee language, they know the songs, they know the dances, and they know things about their clan systems that have been passed and passed and passed. Our Mikos, our Helas Hayas, our Tustanagis, lifetime appointments. Those are things you can't get back. So for us, it's been extremely, extremely brutal to watch a few of those, I would say, traditional Mount Rushmore folks in Muskogee Creek heritage world go on and pass on.
Stephanie, this must be really difficult, because social gatherings in Native American communities are so important, so key. Then we put everybody in lockdown because the elders are very susceptible to COVID-19. And there's a double impact on that. How have people been surviving? How have you been working around that challenge?
Sure. And to say that we depend on our in-person gatherings is almost an understatement. We are a very social people. We come together in times of trouble. We come together to celebrate. We come together for a litany of reasons, truly. And as Jason was mentioning, when we lose our elders, we lose so much more than just a person. And our ability to carry out ceremony for a variety of reasons is very hindered. It's very impacted by being forced to stay behind a wall, behind the computer. But I would also like to harp on the fact that we are resilient. We are strong as a community. And I say that across the Native American, Native country, is that we find ways, we adapt, we overcome. And I think that the ability for us to go virtual was something that I I'm not sure that would have been possible if we were still gathering in person. It would be why do it here when I can go down the road or go to the powwow grounds or travel to ceremony. And social distance powwow was founded as a stopgap. When we first had the virus break out, we thought, okay, maybe a few months just to get people through. And what it's really turned into is a lifeline. It's turned into a movement. It's so much more. And it's an open source place for us to share our social dances. Mostly what you're going to see is powwow dancing there. We host virtual powwows as best we can, where we bring our youth forward, we bring our elders, we bring everyone in between. And if nothing else, we bring joy, we bring hope. And that's something that these gatherings carry for Native people and Native communities, is the hope that things will get better, that we can still laugh. We give each other permission to celebrate our existence, the fact that we are still here, and that we can carry these traditions and also learn them at the same time, whether it's traditional crafts, whether it's storytellers. We have our storytellers coming on, and just really being able to make do the best we can, but at the same time not lose the spirit and the energy and the vibrancy that we carry.
There's something that's really important, Abigail, and I'm thinking about this, and you know all about this, is data. If you've got the information, that is going to help in terms of resources and knowledge and what is going on amongst all the various different communities. How is data helping with the current situation of making sure you're preserving cultural traditions and particularly your elders?
Well, it's more about what data isn't doing right now. My organization just released a report on Friday titled Data Genocide and COVID-19 Data. Why such a harsh title? Because that's what's happening. The reason that we are more at risk for infection of COVID-19 and more at risk for death of COVID-19 is not because I'm a Native person. It's because I'm a Native person in a country that has been trying to kill me for more than 500 years. As a result of the ongoing oppression and colonization of our communities, we find that we have higher rates of health disparities such as diabetes, obesity, heart disease, all of the things that make you more at risk for complications and death of COVID-19. But those are not inherent to Native people. It's a result of the chronic underfunding of the Indian healthcare system, which has never been funded at its full capacity. It's a result of being taken away and placed on other lands. It's a result of global warming and climate change that is impacting our communities and our traditional foods. As a result of this, we see our people dying. And the data right now isn't gathering the information. So we titled this report Data Genocide, recognizing that by eliminating us in the data, what is happening is that the states and the federal government, without the data, are not fulfilling our treaty responsibilities because they say, but it's not represented in the data. How do we allocate resources and policy? So that data genocide is directly impacting our ability to get the allocation of resources and the fulfillment of our treaty rights. And that also includes the urban Indian population, which represents about 70% of all Native people currently live in large urban settings across the United States, some on their traditional lands where the cities were built, others taken there by the federal government, and others coming for opportunities that don't exist on their reservations. All our people matter regardless of where we live. We are tribal people wherever we are. And right now, we are having this devastating impact because of the continued colonization of the United States government, and it has to end now. Now is the time for change. Take a look at our report, Data Genocide, where we rank every single state in the nation on how they're collecting race and ethnicity for American Indians and Alaska Natives. And what we found is that as a nation, the United States got a D+. We would have barely graduated high school with that grade.
Yeah, and if I may jump in here on Abigail's comments, I think the things that she's talking about go so far back. When she mentions some of the pre-existing conditions and the things that we see this virus attacking and really taking hold in people that have these, this goes so far back as far as underserved places where you have no access to nutrition, little to no access to nutrition, impoverished communities that are kept in a cycle. And this is all part of, and she mentioned it a little bit earlier, this isn't the Native communities asking the United States government, hey, help us out, throw us a bone here. No, these are trust and treaty responsibilities. You have not lived up to your end of the bargain. And I say bargain because the things that they are meant to provide are a drop in the bucket compared to the value of human life lost and land base lost that led to these responsibilities and these trust issues. So for us, it is an emotional topic because these are things that haven't been done yet. We're still waiting for justice. And I don't even know if I want to call it justice. I want to say we're still waiting for you to make good on your end of the deal.
And
one of the
if
words
I may,
I picked out from, yeah, absolutely. You go first, and I'm going to pick up
Sorry.
the back because I want to bring in a new voice into our conversation. No apologies needed. Go ahead, Stephanie.
So in this suffering and in these challenges that the community face, the role of dance and culture and how do we internally help ourselves, and how are we protecting our health? Because as the panelists have explained, our institutional care coming from the outside isn't necessarily there. So what we're developing to help combat things like heart disease, obesity, overweight, being these live healthy challenges that we see coming out. We've got culturally based programs where we are encouraging each other to be well. We are encouraging ourselves to take self-responsibility because the things that we were promised and the things that were told to us aren't coming through.
Stephanie, I'm so glad you said that because I was about to go to Ali Young, who's a young person who is saying that it's our responsibility to protect our elders. And this is how she's doing it. Have a listen, have a look.
The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are now available in the Navajo Nation for tribal citizens 16 years and over. I decided to get a vaccine over a month ago, and I actually just got my second dose last week for my people and for my family, for our elders. Our community has been so devastated this past year that, this is a sign of hope for many of our tribal communities. And it's a way to protect the elders and protect the sacred.
So this is what Ali tweeted out. Young people, I encourage you to get your vaccination process started. We've lost too many of our precious elders to this uphill battle. And this is fascinating here, Abigail. I'm going to bring you in on this. Percentage of US residents who have received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine by race, ethnicity across all states with available data. Look who is ahead of everybody else. Indigenous peoples in the United States. I am not, Abigail, seeing vaccine hesitancy amongst Native American people who realize that they have to protect their communities. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this across Indian country. And in fact, at the beginning of the pandemic, Native communities, tribal communities were the very first to implement masking mandates, stay-at-home orders, quarantines. We did it first, and it was followed through in our communities because we knew we needed to protect our elders and our community as a whole. Now, when we look at what's happening with the vaccine, my organization has done to this point the only national survey of American Indians and Alaska Natives, and we found that 75% of them were willing to get vaccinated, and that is much higher than the national average. When we asked folks why they were so willing, it had to do with the number one thing was they were doing it for their family, for their tribe, and for their community. Whereas when you look at the majority white population, when you ask that same question, they're doing it for themselves, for them as an individual. But that's not who we are as Native people, and that's what public health is. The United States should have come to Native communities when thinking about how to roll out these public health efforts. We already knew. We've been doing it. And so when we've seen this vaccination uptake, we're seeing communities in Alaska where they're already almost 100% vaccinated in villages, where they're flying them in, these vaccines, by little planes and taking them by snow machine and dog sleds to these villages. The Bay Mills community in Michigan is 50% vaccinated of all of its adults, residents that they have in their community. And at the Seattle Indian Health Board, where I work, we have vaccinated 100% of our elders at this point in time, 100% of our elders. Those are vaccination rates that are not being seen anywhere else. However, we are lacking in the resources. So we would be vaccinating more people if we had more of the vaccine. We are doing what the rest of the country hasn't been able to do, and that we knew who was needed to get this vaccine in our communities. We knew how to communicate that, but because the Indian Health Service is so chronically underfunded, we haven't been able to get all the vaccinations out that we could. And that is something now we are looking towards. The Biden administration will soon be appointing, we hope, a new director of the Indian Health Service. And I'm tired of saying the director of the Indian Health Service does the best they can with the little they have. I want to say they're doing the best they can because they have all of the resources, and our community will see results as a part of that.
I can see Jason is pumped up, fired up, ready to go. Jason, I want to play you this one little clip first of all, because I want to know practical things that you're able to do. The young people are already doing it. They're getting vaccinated. They're doing work. This is Wilson. Wilson is also being proactive. Have a listen to Wilson, and then Jason come off the back of Wilson.
One way to preserve culture and to protect our traditions is to protect their elders. I know a lot of Diné families on my reservation are limiting visitations to their elders. So that's one way many indigenous communities down my reservation are helping protect our culture and traditions. And one way to support this idea is to support organizations that are doing groundwork COVID relief.
More ideas, protecting your traditions. Yeah, go ahead, Jace.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all been grassroots. It's a movement amongst the people, and I love what Abigail said because of the communal nature, just by nature of Native people. It's we over me, and that has helped us immensely in our messaging. Our messaging is focused on leadership, elders, people with a lot of trust equity in our Muskogee Creek community. Look, I don't have to tell anybody here. When you first say, hey, the government's coming to vaccinate us all, you have natives that are going to be like, hold up, wait, what? No, I'm not good with that. So a lot of it was, hey, look, our chief, our elders are getting this. We have to get a picture of them getting it. We have to get them following up and saying, I feel great, no side effects, I'm good, I feel better, I feel more secure. I feel a sense of relief that I now have these. And that trickles down amongst all the people. And exactly as Abigail said, it is what can we do to make sure that we're all good? I don't care to feel just safe myself. I'm not scared of the virus just for myself. What can we do to make sure that 90,000 strong are going to continue moving forward, are going to continue going and doing what they do, and making sure that we are not only preserving culture, but we are perpetuating it, and that we are doing everything we can to say Muskogee Nation is just as strong as it's ever been, and it's going to be stronger because we are seeing things change. As Abigail said, the Biden administration has already put up the first Native to ever be considered for a cabinet secretary position. I want to see that continue with everything. I want to see Native in charge of Indian Health Service. I want to see Natives in charge of Native issues, because when you talk about the Interior Department, it deals with land, water, what is so incredibly important to us. And if you have a Native in those positions, not only are they going to care about Native issues, more importantly, they are going to understand them. It's not just enough to hear from Native communities about what's going on there. You have to know because you've lived it, you've experienced it, and you are there completely with knowledge and understanding of exactly what is needed in these areas. I mean, I think as we go on and look to the future of this issue, what she has been saying is probably going to be the most important thing. How are we rectifying some of the places where we're not getting good data, we're not getting proper funding? Let's do that, Jason, and it'll take care of a lot of other things.
Jason and Abigail and Stephanie, thank you so much for bringing to us the challenge of preserving culture, traditions, and the elderly across Native American communities in the United States. I thank you very much. If you have a look here on my laptop, our Instagram live conversation on Sunday at 20:30 GMT will be with Chase Ionize. And if you can't make it on Sunday at 20:30 GMT, you'll find it there a little bit later on the AJ Stream Instagram account. I feel it's appropriate to leave you with something from the social distancing powwow page. And I'm going to leave you with Sunny Eagle Speaker. He is noted for his hand drumming. And this is how we're going to end our show today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.